If y'all don't know me, I am technologically declined. Yeah, I did that. I'm gonna see if I can plug in the first one. Maybe I'll just put it in as a blooper. But I got this phone holder from my uncle after I set up his smartwatch to his phone, because yeah, that's technological. And then I flipped the thing. I'm finding out that I flipped the phone. The thing is the phone, because I'm looking at the camera, trying to look at the top, and it's not the camera anymore. And so I'm trying to figure out this angle. I'm trying to figure out the trying to figure out whether recording in like sideways iPhone mode gives me the ability to turn the video sideways. And I think that that's where I've been going wrong, is that I've been recording them straight up, and that's why they have to play straight up. Man, a lot going on, but I'm fresh in the suit. We're gonna do a prayer again. Probably just put the other video up as bloopers. Father Yahuwah, fill us up today with your word. Get what you need. I love you so much, and let the people know what they need to know. Give me what I need to be your soldier and do your will and live by your word, and fill us all up with your Ruach HaKodesh, your Holy Spirit, and love us. Be a reproof, an instruction, that we learn the truth and have wisdom, and we love you. In Yeshua's name, amen. I'm just kind of thinking too about, like, it says love God, and love your neighbor. And so I wonder if we're to reprove and instruct God. That seems kind of backwards, right? So let's see what happens. Please hold. Hello?
Yo.
What's up?
Check it out. I was just in the car and we're still at the mat place. This guy doesn't know how to use the computer. He's still checking in with the boss. Figuring out how to use the computer. We're trying to buy a mattress and shit. So, we're still here.
You guys. You guys decided to go buy a mattress on the wedding day. That was a crafty thing to do. All right, well, I'm just sitting outside reading the Bible, so I'm gonna talk to the people and read the word. And Mom still has to get ready, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's got to make stuffed shells, too.
She's got to make stuffed shells. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. All right, cool. I love you.
I love you. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye. That was my father, and it is a good thing that I'm not waiting to read the word, because they're nowhere near ready. They're buying a mattress, and I think what Yah's testing me today is, am I going to wait for my mom? And for sure. Yeah, for sure. I have an issue. I'm not very patient. I'll go be my, I'll just go. Like, I don't wait for anybody, I'm not a waiting person. I was watching Girls Gone Bible Waiting season 1 today. Just like, I was ready for this wedding at like 11 o'clock. I'm like, all right, this is what I'm doing with my day. Let's get dressed up. Let's go, And then I'm out here with all the pollen, probably getting pollen on my elbows. No, not yet. And so, yeah. But I had a dream last night about many women at this wedding. And it was not necessarily at the wedding, but there were basically just like a party at a house that I recognize, but I don't know whose house it was. And I think it was my friend Tom's house. as a kid. And there were so many beautiful women around, and I had a girlfriend. And y'all know my thoughts on multiple wives. And so the construct was that she was okay with me hanging out with all these multiple women, but when she needed me, I had to stop what I was doing and give her the 10 minutes and spend the time with her and make her known that she was loved first. And that's the Torah in Exodus 21 for having a second wife, is that you do not love your second wife more than your first wife. That's God's requirement. And I think that a lot of men fail to love their first wife, and so they are not found worthy of their other wives. And that was a thing that I knew as a child. My first girlfriend, I did not love. Not that I didn't love her, I didn't love anything. Love was not in my wheelhouse. I was very greedy, and I look at a revelation today that my greed for money forsook my wisdom. That was the relationship with Yah that I gave up. And so how many more years of wisdom I could have, and not that I'm looking back at like anything saying like, oh well, shoulda, woulda, coulda. No, because I'm here and Yah's taking me home again, and he's got plans for me and he can do whatever he wants with me. But I didn't understand love, and I hadn't taken the time to seek it out, seek the knowledge of it out. And now I'm beginning to learn. And I still feel like I'm a toddler in this. I've been reading the Word for 2 years. I've had a real relationship with God for 2 years. And I'm a fast learner. Like it said that my uncle says that when I started talking, I went from no words to full sentences, like immediately. I didn't say like, goo goo gaga, like I went from not speaking at all to comprehensive understanding of verbalization. And that's often how things go in my life. It's just like all of a sudden, like when I bought the pizzeria, 2 weeks to open a pizzeria, unheard of, went through COVID. Like I just do things like that. I don't wait for anything. I don't wait for anybody. I don't wait for approval. I don't check with people. Same thing when I built the rap studio. I built a studio in my parents' basement, and I asked my mom if I could. I was young. I was 19. And this was me crying out for God in all of these songs. I'll see if I can play one or upload one day. But I was crying out for God, and I made this studio almost as a temple to him. Oh, wow. And I asked her if I could build it in her house, and she said yeah. And she tells the story, she's like, the next day I couldn't even park in the garage because there was wood and drywall and just equipment everywhere. She's like, I came home from work. She's like, I don't even know how you got it all here. And it was like, yeah, I do things like that. I just make things happen. And so the point of that is that if you don't take the 10 minutes for your wife, you ain't worthy of much else. And so I'm fortunate that he's reproved me and instructed me to now, because I think that a lot of our dreams are tests of our heart, are showing us our heart. Like how many times I've had dreams and I've been like, I made the wrong decision in that dream. And I don't know why, I don't understand, but I do wake up feeling like I made a bad decision. Also made a bad decision to shave. I should have left my beard the way that it was yesterday, but I was like, this is long, and it would have gave darkness to my shiny suit, but whatever. I also like this. I like wearing suits. Many more. To many more, Yahuwah. Let's keep me looking sharp like this, because I had a lot of clothes that I gave to a what's the word for people who get out of prison? Reacclimation? That's my mom saying that she's sorry because that's what women do. My dad's like, hey, we're just going to tell him. We're going to be late. He probably knows. Praise Yahuwah that I do. Yahuwah had... This is the grace of Yahuwah, is that he loves my mom so much that he told me that this was going to happen so that I wouldn't freak out, because I'm a freak about timeliness. And I had a pastor say to me one time that I was late to his Bible study, and he broke out this sheet and he's like, 10 things that a Christian does, and it's like, be on time. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm on time. Like I'm ritualistically on time. You know what I mean? And that's where the issue is that I'm worshiping the time more than I'm worshiping the spirit. And so sometimes you're just late for stuff. And so I'm sure that Mariah is going to be late to her own wedding. And shout out Mariah and Zach for their happiness today. You guys are learning so much about me today. Term for people who get out of prison. Parolee. That's what Google has. Getting back into society. Re-entry. That's what it's called. Re-entry for people re-entering society. So I gave a whole bunch of clothes away to them, and I gave a whole bunch of clothes. I bought a whole bunch of clothes with all my drug money, thousands of dollars of brand new clothes with tags on them. Gave them away to a re-entry program last year. Praise Yahuwah. And ended up like, he's like, we're gonna get you new clothes. And so I'm thinking that like the style that I'm thinking is like fresh and, I guess you could say fresh and fit, even though I hate that podcast. I love the term. And I don't want to be talking shit on this channel. I want to be talking crap on this channel about podcasts. Some I like, some I don't. And there's a lot that I just interact with them. You know what I mean? I've watched them, and so when I'm spending the time watching them, I'm allowed to have an opinion on them. But shout out people like George Janko and Girls Gone Bible, because they're out there doing the Lord's work. And the growth from their first podcast to their last is incredible. And those are the people that you look at, and those are the people that you emulate, because they're constantly growing and they're constantly moving. And so shout out to them. Yeah. Give time to your people, and more people will be brought to you. 2 Chronicles 32. After these matters and this trustworthiness, Sanherib, sovereign of Ashur, came, and he entered Yehuda and encamped against the cities of defense. and said to break them open to himself. And Hezekiah saw that Sanherib had come, and his face set to fight against Jerusalem. And he took counsel with his rulers and mighty men to stop the water from the springs which were outside the city. And they helped him. And many people were gathered, and they stopped all the springs and the stream that ran through the land, saying, Why should the sovereigns of Ashur come and find much water? And he strengthened himself, and built up all the wall that was broken, and raised it up to the towers, and outside of it another wall, and strengthened Millo, the city of Dawid, and made large numbers of weapons and shields. And he appointed battle officers over the place, and gathered them to him in the open space at the city gate, and spoke to their heart, saying, Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, nor be cast down before the sovereign of Ashur, nor before all the army that is with him. For with us there are more than with him. With him is an arm of flesh, but with us is Yahuwah our Elohim, to help us, and to fight our battles. And the people leaned on the words of Hezekiah, sovereign of Yehuda. After this, Sanherib, the sovereign of Ashur, sent his servants to Jerusalem, but he himself and all his power with him against Lachish, to Hezekiah, sovereign of Yehuda, and to all Yehuda who were in Jerusalem, saying, Thus said Sanherib, the sovereign of Ashur, On what are you trusting that you remain in Jerusalem under siege? Is Hezekiah not persuading you to give yourselves over to die by scarcity of food and by thirst, saying, Yahuwah our Elohim shall deliver us from the hand of the sovereign of Ashur? Has not Hezekiah himself taken away his high places and his slaughter places, and ordered Yehuda and Jerusalem, saying, Bow yourself before one slaughter place and burn incense on it? Do you not know what I and my fathers have done to all the peoples of other lands? Were the mighty ones of the nations of those lands in any way able to deliver their lands out of my hand? Who was there among all the mighty ones of those nations that my fathers put under the ban that could deliver his people from my hand, that your Elohim should be able to deliver you from my hand? And now, do not let Hezekiah deceive you or persuade you like this, and do not believe him. For no mighty one of any nation or reign was able to deliver his people from my hand or the hand of my fathers, much less your Elohim, to deliver you from my hand. And his servant spoke even more against Yahuwah Elohim, against his servant Hezekiah, and he wrote letters to reproach Yahuwah of Yisrael and to speak against him, saying, As the mighty ones of the nations of their land, of other lands, have not delivered their people from my hand, so the Elohim of Hezekiah shall not deliver his people from my hand. Then they called out with a loud voice in the language of Yehuda to the people of Jerusalem who were on the wall, to frighten them and to trouble them, in order to capture the city. And they spoke against the Elohim of Jerusalem as against the mighty ones of the people of the earth, the work of men's hands. And sovereign Hezekiah and the prophet Yeshayahu, son of Amitz, prayed about this and cried out to the heavens. And Yahuwah sent a messenger who cut down every mighty brave one, both the leader and the commander, in the camp of the sovereign of Ashur. And he returned shamefaced to his own land, and went into the house of his mighty one, and there some of his offspring caused him to fall by the sword. Thus Yahuwah saved Hezekiah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem from the hand of Sanherib, the sovereign of Ashur, and from the hand of all others, and guided them on every side. And many brought gifts to Yahuwah at Jerusalem, and presents to Hezekiah, sovereign of Yehuda, and he was exalted in the eyes of all nations thereafter. In those days Hezekiah was sick and near death, and he prayed to Yahuwah, and he spoke to him, and appointed a sign for him. However, Hezekiah did not repay according to the good done to him, for his heart was lifted up. Therefore wrath came upon him, and upon Yehuda and Jerusalem. Then Hezekiah humbled himself for the pride of his heart, he and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, so that the wrath of Yahuwah did not come upon them in the days of Hezekiah. And Hezekiah had much riches and esteem, and he made himself treasuries for silver, and for gold, and for precious stones, and for spices, and for shields, and for all desirable utensils, and storehouses for the harvest of grain, and wine, and oil, and stalls for all kinds of livestock, and folds for flocks. And he made cities for himself, and possessions of great numbers of flocks and herds, for Elohim gave him much property. And Hezekiah himself had stopped the upper outlet of the waters of Gihon, and directed them to the west side of the city of Dawid. And Hezekiah prospered in all his work. However, with the envoys of the princes of Babel, whom they sent to ask him about the wonder that was done in the land, Elohim left him in order to try him, to know that all was in his heart. And the rest of the acts of Hezekiah and his loving commitment, see, they are written in the vision of Hezekiah, of Yeshayahu, the prophet, son of Amitz, in the book of the sovereigns of Yehuda and Yisrael. So Hezekiah slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the upper burial sites of the sons of Dawid, and all Yehuda and the inhabitants of Jerusalem esteemed him at his death. And Manasseh his son reigned in his place. Okay. So, water and coffee. This is a good chapter. This is a really great chapter. I want to say and trees. But it's kind of like, excuse me just a second. See, and honestly, this is the problem with me wearing suits, is that I got these brand new white bottoms. Well, they're not too bad, but I just trekked through mud with them. Not mud, but it's been raining here for the past couple days, as you've heard if you've kept up with my readings, and just traipsing through the dirt, leaning on bark with my shiny polyester purple suit. I'm just a little bit of, I used to use the term hood rat, but we got to come up with a new term because that does not feel in my heart anymore. And also, outdoorsman, you know, I'm a man's man. I don't care. Like, I'm fine with getting dirty. Barnsdall, we broke a pipe, and I just reached down and, like, just trying to crack the pipe. There was a valve, like, he broke it right at the valve. It was like too perfect of a break. We had to shut down the whole thing we had to shut down all the water for the day, whatever. But I tried to reach into the mud, and I mean, this was like, you know, this was a tornado disaster, so who knows what else was in the dirt. But I just went in there and tried to I'm playing with the valve, and I'm like, it's not working. Like, that would have been too easy. Point being, I love wearing suits, but I am very aggressive, and I don't wait, you know. I'm not gonna, I don't know. So, yeah. Help me with that, yeah? Help me be the man that you want me to be, because I think you want me wearing these suits, but I need the setting to do so. And maybe there's just a time and a place for everything. And that sometimes you should not be, sometimes you're wearing a suit and sometimes you're wearing, you know, Carhartts, and maybe you shouldn't be outside in the mud in your suit. Or maybe you just have enough suits that it doesn't matter. But I know that's wrong. Let's take 32 from the top. And after these matters and this trustworthiness, Sanherib, sovereign of Ashur, came, and he entered Yehuda and encamped against the cities of defense and said to break them open to himself. So Hezekiah in 31:20 did all this in Yehuda, and he did what was good and what was right and what was true before Yahweh his Elohim. In 30, he does the Pesach, and in 31, he's appointing Levites over the gates and the priestly duties, keeping the genealogy, and guarding the heaps and the tithe, and 21, and in every work that he began in the service of the house of Elohim, in the Torah, and in the command to seek his Elohim with all his heart, he did and prospered. Amen. We prayed that. Amen. We prayed that yesterday. And then this guy, Sanherib, sovereign of Ashur, comes and he's like, yeah, we're going to break down Yehuda's walls. And Hezekiah saw that Sanherib had come, and his face set to fight against Jerusalem. And he took counsel with his rulers and mighty men to stop the water from the springs which were outside the city, and they helped him. So they come to Jerusalem, and he's like, all right, we're going to shut down the water. We're going to starve them out, which is a great move. I've said about how people, this is a book of war strategy as well, which is underappreciated. Some of the few books that I read were like 33 Strategies of War, 48 Laws of Power. Like, I was that guy. And this is all those books in one and then some. And the Holy Spirit. And why should the sovereign of Ashur come and find much water? And he strengthened himself and built up all the wall that was broken and raised it up to towers, and outside of it another wall. He builds walls on walls and raises towers, and strengthened Millo, the city of Dawid, and made large numbers of weapons and shields. He's getting ready for war. And he appointed battle officers over the people and gathered them to him in the open space at the city gate, and spoke to their hearts, saying, be courageous and do not be afraid, nor be cast down before the sovereign of Ashur, nor before all the army that is with him. For with us there is more than with him. With him is an arm of flesh, but with us is Yahuwah our Elohim, to help us and to fight our battles. And the people leaned on the words of Hezekiah, sovereign of Yehuda. So he says, look, they are a great and mighty army. We are children of the Most High. Our God is God. And they accept that. They see what he's done. They see how he's prospered. They see how he's been treated. He's got a reputation. Leadership capital. I take a lot of terms from Bear. He's got some really good terminology, but that's a great way to put it. Like, imagine just having a bank account of leadership, and that's what you kind of have, like, money is not the only currency and resource. There's a lot of different tender in this world. I don't like that you can't see my hands either. I talk with my hands. I'm a freaking Italian. I'm not going to play with it. We're going to leave it for the video. But now I know. So, check this out. After this, Sanherib, the sovereign of Ashur, sent his servants to Jerusalem, but he himself and all his power with him against Lachish, to Hezekiah, sovereign of Yehuda, and to all Yehuda who were in Jerusalem, saying, so he sends his servants to Jerusalem, but he goes to Lachish, to Hezekiah, sovereign of Yehuda, and to all of Yehuda. I'm not sure what Lachish is, so we're going to skip that and go back. I'm not exactly sure. This is the first that I'm hearing of it, and let's see if maybe 2 Kings... has a better, because I'm like reading this and I'm like, I remember this story. Which is in 2 Kings 19, but it doesn't have any. 19:8, and the Rabshakeh returned and found the sovereign of Ashur fighting against Libnah, for he heard that he had left Lachish. I don't know what a Lachish is, but I don't think it's super pertinent. Okay. And I want to read this because Sanherib is mocking Yahuwah. And it's anticlimactic, this story, because of the authority of Yahuwah. It's literally like Shaq playing basketball against a 3-year-old, or like Mike Tyson fighting a 4-year-old, or like Derek Jeter getting a pitch from a 5-year-old. Like, this is the creator of the universe playing with his creation. A cat playing with yarn. You know, like, it's just not a fair fight. 32:10. Thus said Sanherib, the sovereign of Ashur, on what are you trusting that you remain in Jerusalem under siege? Is Hezekiah not persuading you to give yourselves over to die by scarcity of food and by thirst, saying, Yahuwah or Elohim shall deliver us from the hand of the sovereign of Ashur? Has not Hezekiah himself taken away his high places and his slaughter places, and ordered Yehuda and Jerusalem, saying, bow yourselves before one slaughter place and burn incense on it? Do you not know what I and my fathers have done to all the peoples of other lands? Were the mighty ones of the nations of those lands in any way able to deliver their lands out of my hand? Who was there among all the mighty ones of those nations that my fathers put under the ban that could deliver his people from my hand, that your Elohim should be able to deliver you from my hand? And now do not let Hezekiah deceive you or persuade you like this, and do not believe him. For no mighty one of any nation or reign was able to deliver his people from my hand or the hand of my fathers, much less your Elohim to deliver you from my hand. So, I want to break this down too, because he is basically comparing Yahuwah to the other mighty ones of other nations. And apparently he does not know Yahuwah. He does not know the story of Israel. He does not know the people of Israel. He does not know the true Elohim. And he's saying, and this is honestly, verse 12 is very telling on how he actually thinks that this whole system works, because has Hezekiah himself not taken away his high places and his slaughter places, and ordered Yehuda and Jerusalem, saying, bow yourselves before one slaughter place and burn incense on it? So he thinks that having the multitude of gods to go to is the answer. But there is no God but God. Have no gods, have no mighty ones before me. Let's just read the first 3 commands. I am Yahuwah your Elohim, who, Exodus 20, for those of you who don't know, is the 10 commandments. I am Yahuwah your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of slavery. And Elohim spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahuwah your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of slavery. You have no other mighty ones against my face. You do not make for yourself a carved image, or any likeness of that which is in the heavens above, or which is in the earth beneath, or which is in the waters under the earth. You do not bow to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahuwah your Elohim, am a jealous El, visiting the crookedness of the fathers on the children to the 3rd and 4th generations of those who hate me, but showing loving commitment to thousands, to those who love me and guard my commands. You do not bring the name of Yahuwah your Elohim to naught, for Yahuwah does not leave the one unpunished who brings his name to naught. And so all through Chronicles, we've seen these high places, these slaughter places, these Asherim coming and going, and they're building and they're tearing down. And now we've got the house of Yahuwah, and Hezekiah does a Pesach, the remembrance of the coming out of Mitzrayim, that they are no longer slaves, that they are now children of Yahuwah. And this guy, sovereign of Ashur, Sanherib, comes up and says, look, don't let your king lead you astray. Come on. Let's be real about this. You've seen what I've done to all these nations. Look at how all their mighty ones left them. This is not, don't do it this way. Your God is not the guy. And he's trying to break these people. He's saying, look, come on. Like, is Hezekiah not persuading you to give yourselves over to die by scarcity of food and thirst? Like, this is how you're going to go. You don't even have the resources within yourselves. If you want to hold out, we're a stronger camp than you are. We can do this peacefully. And he says, do you not know what I and my fathers have done to all the people of other lands? We're conquerors. Who was there among all the mighty ones of those nations that my father put under the ban that could deliver his people from my hand? And your Elohim should be able to deliver you. And now do not let Hezekiah deceive you or persuade you like this, and do not believe him. So he knows that, because 15 goes on to say, for no mighty one of any nation or reign was able to deliver his people from my hand or the hand of my fathers, much less your Elohim to deliver you from my hand. So Sanherib recognizes that their faith is not even in Hezekiah. Their faith is in Yahweh. Hezekiah doesn't say, I'm going to lead you through this. I am the strongest king ever. Hezekiah says, verse 8, with him is an arm of flesh, but with us is Yahweh or Elohim. That's where your faith is. That's who you rely on. And Sanherib knows this. And so he says, look, you're being told this by a man. Don't let this man deceive you. This is how the mighty ones of other nations were taken down, and this is how I will take down your mighty one as well. Because he thinks that he's going out thinking that he's a god. There was a lot of divinity in the kings back then. I mean, even, like, they're to a degree, like, David, Shaul is chosen by God. Then David's chosen by God. Then Solomon's chosen by God. And so he's the man of peace. He's the, I guess, depending how you look at it, he's chosen by God, because he says in 1 Chronicles 17, your son, he does build me a house. 1 Chronicles 17:4, go, and you shall say to my servant Dawid, thus says Yahweh, you do not build me a house to dwell in. For I have not dwelt in a house since the time that I brought up Yisrael, even to this day, but have gone from tent to tent, and from one dwelling place to another. Wherever I have moved about with all Yisrael, have I ever spoken a word to any of the rulers of Yisrael, whom I commanded to shepherd my people, saying, why have you not built me a house of cedar? And now say this to my servant Dawid, thus said Yahweh of hosts, I took you from the sheepfold, from following the sheep, to be ruler over my people Yisrael. David is chosen. And I have been with you wherever you have gone, and have cut off all your enemies before you, and have made you a name like the name of great men who are on the earth. And I shall prepare a place for my people Yisrael, and plant them, and they shall dwell in a place of their own, and move no more. Nor shall the sons of wickedness oppress them any more, as at the first. Since the time that I commanded rulers to be over my people Yisrael, and I have humbled all your enemies, and I declared to you that Yahweh does build you a house. And it shall be, when your days are filled to go to be with your fathers, that I shall raise up your seed after you, who is of your sons, and I shall establish his reign. When your days are filled to go be with your fathers, that I shall raise up your seed after you, who is of your sons, and I shall establish his reign. He does build me a house, and I shall establish his throne forever. I am to be his father, and he is to be my son. And my loving commitment I do not turn away from him, as I took it from him who was before you. And I shall establish him in my house and in my reign forever, and let his throne be established forever. According to all these words and according to all this vision, so did Nathan speak to Dawid. And sovereign Dawid came in and sat before Yahweh, and said, who am I, O Yahweh Elohim? And what is my house that you have brought me this far? And this was a small matter in your eyes, O Elohim, but you have spoken of your servant's house for a great while to come, and have looked upon me as though I were an exalted man. O Yahweh Elohim, what more could Dawid add to you for the esteem of your servant, for you know your servant? O Yahweh, for your servant's sake, and according to your own heart, you have done all this greatness, in making known all these matters. O Yahweh, there is none like you, nor is there any Elohim besides you, according to all that we have heard with our ears. And who is like your people Yisrael, the one nation on the earth whom Elohim went to redeem for yourself as a people, to make yourself a great and awesome name by driving out the nations from before your people whom you redeemed from Mitzrayim. For you appointed your people Yisrael to be your own people forever, and you, Yahuwah, have become their Elohim. And now, O Yahuwah, the word which you have spoken concerning your servant and concerning his house, let it stand fast forever, and do as you have said. So let it stand fast, your name be great forever, saying, Yahuwah of hosts, Elohim of Yisrael, is Elohim to Yisrael, and let the house of your servant Dawid be established before you. For you, O my Elohim, have revealed to your servant to build a house for him. Therefore, your servant has found courage to pray before you. And now, Yahuwah, you are Elohim and have promised this goodness to your servant. And now you have been pleased to bless the house of your servant to be before you forever. For you have blessed it, O Yahuwah, and it is blessed forever. Okay, cool. Yeah, my parents still aren't here yet. Yeah, you can shut it. No, don't lock it. But just shut it. I gotta get back in. You know. That's a B, if you guys didn't see it. And hold on real quick. Dude, I got at least a half hour. What? I did, but I told you I'd come early and read the Bible with you, and then it's okay. It's fine. Don't worry about it. All right, so still back. First Chronicles 22, 22:5, and then we'll get back into Second Chronicles 32. And Dawid said, Shalom, O my son, is young and tender, and the house that is to be built for Yahuwah is to be exceedingly great, for a splendid name to all the lands. Please let me make preparation for it. So Dawid made extensive preparation before his death. And so, going back to Second Chronicles 32, my mom is now home, and she has joined us briefly. She's crying. I told the people you were going to be late, so it's okay. We'll do another one together. My mom will make a guest appearance on another Bible video. She's outside having a smoke, and I'm outside reading the Word, and She currently has a purple shirt on, but I don't think her dress is purple, so we'll only be matching for a short time. So basically, Sovereign Hezekiah, verse 20, Sovereign Hezekiah and the prophet Yeshayahu, son of Amitz, prayed about this and cried out to the heavens. And so they pray, and the people of Judah are not. You're good. Take your time. I know that you're like, smoke half a cigarette, get back to it. That's okay. Go. Do what you got to do. We'll be right on time. Judah's not shook. They look to Hezekiah, and this guy's just, as the mighty ones of other nations have not delivered their people from my hand, so the Elohim of Hezekiah should not deliver his people from my hand. And they called out with a loud voice in the language of Yehuda. They actually start speaking Hebrew to the people who were on the wall to frighten them and to trouble them in order to capture the city. So they're hoping that the people just kind of give up and walk away. And Hezekiah and Isaiah pray about this and cry to the heavens. And Yahuwah sent a messenger who cut down every mighty brave one, both the leader and the commander in the camp of the sovereign of Ashur, and he returned shamefaced to his own land, and went into the house of his mighty one, and there some of his offspring caused him to fall by the sword. So Yahuwah does Yahuwah just brings these people to not. He just, like, it doesn't even say how. He just cut down every mighty brave one, sent a messenger, and just started killing people. Again, they don't have to go to war. I think this was 2 Chronicles 20, where they don't have to go to war. And thus Yahuwah saved Hezekiah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem from the hand of Sanherib, the sovereign of Ashur, and from the hand of all others, and guided them on every side. And many brought gifts to Yahuwah at Jerusalem, and presents to Hezekiah, sovereign of Yehuda. Yo,
How you doing, man?
Doing good. How are you?
You look great, bro.
Thank you. This is so, like, we got to get a picture of this because my pants match your shirt, and then she's got purple on.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, the jacket's shinier than I thought it would be.
You okay over there?
Yeah, I'm reading the word.
Oh, okay. So you actually read it? Yeah. Out loud. You know, be able to louder to loud. You need a speaker or anything?
I got
You
a
need
speaker.
Oh,
I could
good.
do that. I got the JBL speaker. Yeah, I could do that.
Feel free, brother. Let that word be heard. I want it heard from his thoughts.
Praise Yah.
Praise Yah. Praise Yah. It's the only words I want loud over here. All right? Cool.
Okay. So, Yahuwah is, there's going to be another break once my mom gets back downstairs. So now she's freaking out and rushing. And, Yahuwah, give her peace. I know that I did a terrible job of that, as I was just telling you guys that would be my job. And I did not do it for long enough. And I don't know. That's where I struggle, is how long is the right amount of time? Because, like, where I feel like it's the right amount of time is not necessarily the right amount of time. So how do you judge that, you know? Many brought gifts to Yahweh at Yerushalayim and presents to Hezekiah, sovereign of Yehuda, and he was exalted in the eyes of all nations thereafter. And so basically, they thank Yahweh, which is the right thing to do. Hezekiah then gets sick, prays to Yahweh, and Yahweh spoke to him and appointed a sign for him. However, Hezekiah did not repay according to the good done to him, for his heart was lifted up. Therefore wrath came upon him and upon Yehuda and Yerushalayim. And Hezekiah humbled himself for the pride of his heart, he and the inhabitants of Yerushalayim, so that the wrath of Yahweh did not come upon them in the days of Hezekiah. So you see Hezekiah's heart changing back and forth here. So he gets sick, prays, doesn't do what he's supposed to do, and then humbles himself. And then Hezekiah goes on to have many riches, make cities, and had stopped the upper outlet of the waters of Gihon and directed them to the west side of the city of Dawid, and Hezekiah prospered in all his work. However, with the envoys of the princes of Babel, whom they sent to ask him about the wonder that was done in the land, Elohim left him, in order to try him, to know all that was in his heart. And the rest of the acts of Hezekiah and his loving commitment, see, they are written in the vision of Yeshayahu the prophet, son of Amitz, in the book of the sovereigns of Yehuda and Yisrael. So Hezekiah slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the upper burial sites of the sons of Dawid. And all Yehuda and the inhabitants of Yerushalayim esteemed him at his death. And Manasseh his sons reigned in his place. Okay. We're going to read 33. And then, before I explain it, my mom will be down. What's the fifth commandment? Respect your mother and father. Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 55 years in Yerushalayim. But he did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah, according to the abominations of the nations whom Yahuwah dispossessed from before the children of Israel. For again he rebuilt the high places which Hezekiah his father had broken down, and raised up slaughter places for the Baals, and made Asherim, and bowed himself to all the hosts of the heavens, and served them. And he built slaughter places in the house of Yahuwah, of which Yahuwah had said, in Yerushalayim is my name forever. And he built slaughter places for all the hosts of the heavens in the two courtyards of the house of Yahuwah. And he made his sons pass through the fire in the valley of the son of Hinnom, and practiced magic, and used divination and witchcraft, and consulted mediums and spiritists. He did much evil in the eyes of Yahuwah to provoke him. And he placed a carved image of the idol which he had made in the house of Elohim, of which Elohim had said to Dawid and to Shalom his son, in this house and in Yerushalayim, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, I put my name forever. And no more shall I remove the foot of Israel from the soil which I have appointed for your fathers, only if they guard to do all that I have commanded them, according to all the Torah and the laws and the right rulings by the hand of Moshe. Thus Manasseh led Yehuda and the inhabitants of Yerushalayim astray, to do more evil than the nations whom Yahuwah had destroyed before the children of Israel. And Yahuwah spoke to Manasseh and to his people, but they did not listen. Therefore Yahuwah brought upon them the commanders of the armies of the sovereigns of Ashur, who captured Manasseh with hooks, bound him with bronze shackles, and made him go to Babel. And when he was in distress, he sought the face of Yahuwah his Elohim, and humbled himself greatly before the Elohim of his fathers, and prayed to him. And he was moved by his entreaty, and heard his supplication, and brought him back to Yerushalayim into his reign. And Manasseh knew that Yahuwah was Elohim. And after this, he built a wall outside the city of Dawid on the west of Gihon, in the Wadi, as far as the entrance of the fish gate. And it was it went round Ophel, and he made it exceedingly high, and he put commanders in all the walled cities of Yehuda, and he removed the foreign mighty ones, and the idol from the house of Yahweh, and all the slaughter places that he had built in the mount of the house of Yahweh, and in Jerusalem, and he threw them out of the city. And he built the slaughter place of Yahweh, and slaughtered slaughterings of peace offerings and thank offerings on it, and ordered Yehuda to serve Yahweh Elohim of Yisrael. But the people were still slaughtering on the high places, though only to Yahweh their Elohim. And the rest of the acts of Manasseh, his prayers to his Elohim, and the words of the seers who spoke to him in the name of Yahweh Elohim of Yisrael, see, they are written in the book of the sovereigns of Yisrael. And his prayer and his entreaty, and all his sin and his trespass, and the places where he built high places, and set up the Asherim and the carved images before he was humbled, see, they are written among the word of the seers. So Manasseh slept with his fathers, and they buried him in his own house, and his son Amon reigned in his place. Amon was 22 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 2 years in Jerusalem. But he did evil in the eyes of Yahweh, as his father Manasseh had done. And Amon slaughtered to all the carved images which his father Manasseh had made, and served them. And he did not humble himself before Yahweh, as his father Manasseh had humbled himself, for Amon trespassed more and more. And his servants conspired against him, and killed him in his own house. But the people of the land struck all those who had conspired against sovereign Ammon, and the people of the land set up his son Yoshiahu to reign in his place. Pause.
Well, I guess my pause is skipped for you.
All right, I'm back. Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 55 years in Jerusalem. But he did evil in the eyes of Yahweh, according to the abominations of the nations who Yahweh dispossessed from the children of Israel. Here we go with the high places and the Asherim again, to the Baals, the slaughter places. He built slaughter places in the house of Yahweh, which is just insane abomination, of which he said, in Jerusalem is my name forever. Yahweh said that, and this guy comes along and just starts building slaughter places to false gods. And he built slaughter places for all the hosts of the heavens in the 2 courtyards of the house of Yahweh. And he made his sons pass through the fire in the valley of the son of Hinnom, and practiced magic, and used divination and witchcraft, and consulted mediums and spiritists. He did much evil in the eyes of Yahweh to provoke him. And this is something that Yahweh hates. We definitely see Shaul does this against David. But I'm going to try and find it in... There's a disturbance. Father, bring peace among this house. So 1 Samuel 28. Shaul, and it came to be in those days that the Philistines gathered their armies for battle to fight with Israel, and Achish said to Dawid, "You know, of course, that you are to go out with me in the army, you and your men." And Dawid said to Achish, "Very well, you shall know what your servant should do." And Achish said to Dawid, "Very well, I make you one of my chief guardians forever." And Shemuel had died, and all Israel had mourned for him and buried him in Ramah, in his own city. And Shaul had put away the mediums and the spiritists from the land, as he was supposed to do. And the Philistines were gathered and came and encamped at Shenum. And Shaul gathered all Israel, and they encamped at Gilboa. And when Shaul saw the army of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart greatly trembled greatly. And Shaul inquired of Yahuwah, but Yahuwah did not answer him, either by dreams or by Urim or by the prophets. Shaul then said to his servants, "Find me a woman who is a medium, to go to her and inquire of her." And his servant said to him, "Look, there is a woman who is a medium at Endor." That sounds like something straight out of Star Wars. But Shaul at this point is being rejected by Yahuwah. And Yahuwah does not answer him by dreams or by Urim or by the prophets. And so, praise Yahuwah for the fact that he communicates with me in my dreams. And I want to say that it is, 1 Samuel 13, where basically First Samuel 13:8 we'll start with. And he waited for 7 days according to the appointment with Shemuel. Shemuel did not come to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. And wow, that was quick. I'm not quite done yet, though. So okay. Okay. Did you?
That's all right, right?
Yeah, you're beautiful.
Aw.
Yeah. Good thing you have flowers on your dress, because I didn't bring the flowers.
What? Yeah.
Help him. Yeah, you could have. Yeah, do what you gotta do. I gotta like.
I'm ready whenever you.
Okay. Let the Hebrews hear. Verse 9, and Shemuel said, "Bring an ascending offering and peace offerings here to me." And he offered the ascending offering. And it came to be, as he had finished offering the ascending offering, look, Shemuel came, and Shaul went out to meet him to bless him. So he says, "Bring an ascending offering and peace offerings here to me." And he offered the ascending offering. Then Shemuel said, "What have you done?" And Shaul said, "Because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that you did not come within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered at Michmash. So I said, the Philistines are going to come down to me at Gilgal, and I have not appeased the face of Yahuwah. So I felt compelled and offered an ascending offering." Shemuel said to Shaul, "You have been foolish. You have not guarded the command of Yahuwah your Elohim, which he commanded you. For now Yahuwah would have established your reign over Israel forever. But now your reign is not going to stand. Yahuwah shall seek for himself a man after his own heart, and Yahuwah shall command him to be leader over his people, because you have not guarded what Yahuwah commanded you." And Shaul rose and went up from Gilgal to Geba of Benjamin, and Shaul mustered the people who were present with him, about 600 men. And Shaul and Jonathan, his son, and the people who were present with them remained in Geba of Benjamin, while the Philistines camped at Michmash. And so this is basically when Yahuwah turns against Shaul, and then Shaul in 1 Samuel 28:8, which I'm also going to look up. Where is Bible? Do not consult spiritists. Leviticus 19:31. Okay, we'll go there after this, but you can sit if you want. Okay. But the woman said to him, okay, verse 8, and Shaul disguised himself and put on other garments and went, he and 2 men with him, and they came to the woman by night. And he said, please divine for me and bring up for me the one I shall name. But the woman said to him, look, you know what Shaul has done, how he has cut off the mediums and the spiritists from the land. Why then do you lay a snare for my life and to put me to death? And Shaul swore to her by Yahuwah, saying, as Yahuwah lives, no punishment comes upon you for this matter. And the woman said, whom do I bring up for you? So he said, bring up Shemuel for me. And when the woman saw Shemuel, she cried out with a loud voice, and the woman spoke to Shaul, saying, why have you deceived me? You yourself are Shaul. And the sovereign said to her, do not be afraid. What did you see? And the woman said to Shaul, I saw a spirit coming up out of the earth. And he said to her, what is his form? And she said, an old man is coming up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Shaul knew it was Shemuel. And he bowed with his face to the ground and did obeisance. And Shemuel said to Shaul, why have you disturbed me by bringing me up? And Shaul answered, I am deeply distressed, for the Philistines are fighting against me, and Elohim has turned aside from me and does not answer me any more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. So I have called you to reveal to me what I should do. And so Shaul here is summoning the spirit of Samuel, and Samuel gets pissed, and he's like, why are you doing this? Then Shemuel said, and why do you ask me, seeing Yahuwah has turned aside from you and has become your enemy? And Yahuwah has done for himself as he spoke by me. For Yahuwah has torn the rain out of your hand and given it to your neighbor, to Dawid. And so the point of this was to show you that the spiritists and mediums, one, were excommunicated from Israel, and two, even the prophet Samuel is like, dude, this is too far. And then Leviticus 19:31, which we love Leviticus 19, do not turn to mediums and do not seek after spiritists to be defiled by them. I am Yahuwah your Elohim, said plainly. It's definitely in Deuteronomy somewhere too, but I don't know where exactly. Excuse me. You're like totally ready?
Whenever you're ready.
Okay.
I just don't want you waiting.
I'm good. Okay. So I wanted to make the point here. It is 18. Deuteronomy 18. I wanted to make the point here about them. Deuteronomy 18:10. 3 witnesses. Let no one, and there's a 4th in Isaiah that we're not going to hit. Let no one be found among you who makes his sons or his daughter pass through the fire, or one who practices divination, or a user of magic, or one who interprets omens, or a sorcerer, or one who conjures spells, or a medium, or a spiritist, or one who calls up the dead. I wanted these witnesses that don't go to mediums, don't go to spiritists, don't go to psychic, don't go to diviners, don't worship any king who says he's divine. Yeshua HaMashiach is our divine king. And he placed the carved image of the idol which he had made in the house of Elohim, of which Elohim had said to Dawid and to Shalom his son, in this house and in Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, I put my name forever, and no more shall I remove the foot of Israel from the soil which I have appointed for your fathers, only if they guard to do all that I have commanded them, according to all the Torah and the laws and the right rulings by the hand of Moshe. I gave Moshe my Torah. Follow this. That's all you got to do. Thus Manasseh led Yehuda and the inhabitants of Jerusalem astray to do more evil than the nations whom Yahuwah had destroyed before the children of Israel. And Yahuwah spoke to Manasseh and to his people, but they did not listen. Therefore Yahuwah brought upon them the commanders of the army of the sovereign of Ashur, who captured Manasseh with hooks, bound him with bronze shackles, and made him go to Babel. Captured Manasseh with hooks, bound him with bronze shackles, and made him go to Babel. 33:6 is direct violation of Deuteronomy 18:10 and 11. Just saying, he did all the things. Made his sons pass through the fire, magic, divination, witchcraft, mediums, and spiritists. Just violated the entirety of it in one shot. Maybe that's why it's written that way. And when he was in distress, he sought the face of Yahweh his Elohim, and humbled himself greatly before the Elohim of his fathers, and prayed to him. And he was moved by his entreaty, and heard his supplication, and brought him back to Jerusalem into his reign. And Manasseh knew that Yahweh was Elohim. So this guy humbles himself, Yahweh turns back to him, forgives him, and Manasseh now knows that Yahweh is Elohim. And man, truly, when you experience that in your life, you just break down and bow. There's no fighting it anymore. You just accept it in your whole being. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy after that, but it means that it's reality. And you can't see outside of it. And after this, he built a wall outside the city of Dawid on the west of Gihon in the Wadi, as far as the entrance of the fish gate, and it went round Ophel, and he made it exceedingly high, and he put army commanders in all the walled cities of Yehuda. And he removed the foreign mighty ones and the idol from the house of Yahweh, and all the slaughter places that he had built in the mount of the house of Yahweh and in Jerusalem, and he threw them out of the city. And he built the slaughter place of Yahweh, and slaughtered slaughterings of peace offerings and thank offerings on it, and ordered Yehuda to serve Yahweh Elohim of Yisrael. But the people were still slaughtering on the high places, though only to Yahweh their Elohim. So Judah's confused. They've been misled. They're slaughtering to Yahweh at the wrong place, and it's just kind of a cluster F at this point. The rest of the acts of Manasseh, his prayers to Elohim, and the words of the seers who spoke to him in the name of Yahweh Elohim of Yisrael, see, they are written in the book of the sovereigns of Yisrael. And his prayer and his entreaty, and all his sin and his trespass, and the places where he built high places, and set up the Asherim and the carved images, before he was humbled, see, they are written among the words of the seers. So Manasseh slept with his fathers, and they buried him in his own house, and his son Ammon reigned in his place. Ammon was 22 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 2 years in Jerusalem. But he did evil in the eyes of Yahweh, as his father Manasseh had done. And Ammon slaughtered to all the carved images which his father Manasseh had made, and served them. So he didn't get rid of everything, and Ammon just takes to that and clings to it. And he did not humble himself before Yahweh, as his father Manasseh had humbled himself, for Ammon trespassed more and more. And so we've got a clear juxtaposition in 33 of a guy who humbles himself, starts doing the right thing, does what he can until his death, and then a guy who keeps pushing the boundaries. And his servants conspired against him and killed him in his own house. But the people of the land struck all those who had conspired against sovereign Ammon, and the people of the land set up his son Yoshiahu to reign in his place. And so the people do the right thing by killing Ammon, but it's wrong for them to turn against Ammon, and so the people turn against the people who turned against the sovereign. And Yoshiahu, his son, reigned in his place, who was a great king. In Yeshua's name, praise Yahweh.